join me in welcoming the incredible Jaimie Alexander! I'm going to give you an ultra intro.
Ooh, thank you.
That should be part of the MCU. Welcome, welcome. You excited to be here?
Yes, I am. I'm very excited. Woo! Yeah.
I heard this is possibly your first con appearance?
Okay,
let's clear this up.
Yes, we'll clear it up. I went to one in Australia in 2012 that I remember, and one with Stan Lee in Los Angeles. I can't remember what year that was. And then the other ones were like San Diego and New York, but that's press stuff. So this is really fun because I actually got to meet a lot of you and talk to a lot of you, which I don't often get to do, and I really enjoyed it. So I will do more of these, I promise.
Oh, we love having her here. You're somewhat of a Texan, aren't you, to some extent?
I am. I was raised in Grapevine, Texas.
Grapevine is in here?
Oh, yeah.
So I guess you already know Whataburger and Buc-ee's, and that's like the staple of the state.
And Taco Cabana.
Oh, I'm there. Wow, I'll go back and revisit. But Buc-ee's, you know, is getting bigger and bigger, and it's a great stop. I think I want to just camp out there every time I go.
I hear you.
Well, we're excited to have you here. It's super great. I know everyone's excited. We got a lot of fan questions here, a lot of great stuff. But I kind of want you to take us back to the moment when you first learned you'd be playing Lady Sif, and what was your reaction, and what was the audition process like for that?
Okay, so this was in 2009. I had just come off a show called Kyle XY, and there was a writer's strike, and I went back to basically bartending. I was like, I'm gonna bartend because, you know, there are no jobs, and then I got called to go in for this Marvel film. And they wouldn't tell us what it was, and they said you had to be like 5'8" or taller. I was like, finally, a tall person role. And because I would lose roles all the time because I was a lot taller than most of the dudes. So I was like, okay, well, I got the height, but I don't know what character it is. I don't know, you know. So they gave me some audition sides, and I went in, and I was like, I'm never gonna get this. I'm never gonna get this. I'm not a big enough name. Like every actress wanted this part at the time. And so I went in, and then they called me back in, and I think the final round was I went to Marvel in California, and they sat me down, and I didn't know I already had the part. They didn't tell me. They like kind of fibbed. And I went in and I had my purse, and I carry a knife. So I forgot, because where I was bartending, it was kind of shady, and I had to go like down this weird alley to get to my car at night, so I would just carry a blade. So I had a knife. I also had tampons in my bag, so let me just tell you, it all fell out in front of them. And then, and they were like, how many brothers do you have? I said 4. They're like, this is perfect. You fit right in. And so I went in to meet everybody, and they told me I had to have a British accent right away, and I was like, oh God, I don't know how to do that. And then they were like, psych, just kidding, you got the part. I was like, you guys are jerks. But so it was like, it was a really funny process. But yeah, the knife and I was like, sorry about that.
Well, the knife makes sense.
Yes,
Lady Sif.
right.
She would come prepared.
It was not a small knife.
Ready for a battle.
Yes, absolutely.
Abby here from, where are you, Colleyville? Is Abby here?
Oh, okay.
She wants to know what's your favorite thing about playing Lady Sif.
Oh, my favorite thing. A lot of things. I love that she is so protective, like fiercely protective of who she loves, and she's always trying to do the right thing. And if she doesn't like you, you know it. She gives the good side eye. But I think honestly my favorite physical part about it was, I love the stunt work, but the costumes. I mean, I can't tell you how many of us, like Chris included, like all of us, were just like, oh my God, we get to wear a cape. Like we were so excited. We were like this big group of nerds that were so happy. We were all in our early 20s, and it was, yeah, the first one was so much fun. All of them were fun. Yeah.
So Lady Sif really is a role model for many people. How does that feel to you? Lady Sif is looked at as a role model for many, many people.
Oh gosh, wow, I didn't know that, but thank you, and I hope that I do her justice, and you know, I maybe don't carry a knife just in case, but you know, I love that though. She's a strong woman, Asgardian, and again, you know, she's very loyal, and she tries to do what's right, and she lets her opinion be heard, but in a respectful way, so I like that.
You mentioned, yeah, let's hear for that. Come on, yeah, applaud that one. It's okay to make noise here, we're not going to say anything. But being on a Marvel set must have been like a crazy experience. We kind of talked about when the first Iron Man came out and not do like the doors open for everything to come out. What's it like to be on a Marvel set and how like secretive everything is? And I guess they just lock you in and just...
They do. You give them your soul and your firstborn. It's, you know what, the sets are incredible, and as the years have gone by, they've gotten more and more you know, incredible as far as technology. I mean, in Love and Thunder, let me just say I was there a lot longer than what it ended up being in the film, but there was these massive screens and they could just put up whatever world on these screens and we would be in front of the screens doing all this kind of stuff, and they'd have real ice on the ground, which Chris was gonna pick me up in this scene in Love and Thunder, and he's like, I can't do it, I'm gonna, like, what if I drop you? I was like, I'll kill you if you drop me. And he was like, what if, and then I was like, just tell me my arm's in Valhalla and like, let's go. And he was like, that's hilarious, and so we did. But the sets are amazing though. I mean, a lot of work goes into them, and of course in the first Thor, we didn't use as much CGI. I mean, Ken Branagh wanted everything to be very real, so like the ice world that's moving, it was actually moving, which was tricky when you have to run across it really fast with a double-edged blade. But it was amazing. Like, it was really, honestly, it's like the most fun job I've had. It's really incredible.
It's definitely a special place. The Marvel Cinematic Universe means a lot to a lot of us, and you're definitely part of it. You shared some like behind-the-scenes photos, I guess, on your Instagram with Tom and Chris. Can you talk about the first time y'all all met each other and how quickly y'all became kind of like a family?
Yeah, it was cool. They had us train together for about 3 months before we filmed the first Thor. So I grew up with a bunch of boys. I was on my high school wrestling team. Like, this was like, I was like, you guys are easy. But they're huge. I mean, Chris is just like this wall of flesh. And Tom is a big guy too. I mean, everybody was, you know, kind of big, and then I go in there. But we would do all these things together, and it was so much fun. And we, you know, Ken really wanted it to come across like we'd known each other for a long time, and we were like family. And that's the vibe that we all had, you know. And the late Ray Stevenson was certainly one of my favorite people in the world. Yeah. Man, I can't tell you how many, every time I think of him, I get so sad. He was so great. And he was kind of like my protector a lot. Like, he would always like look after me, kind of like a big older brother. And so we had that dynamic because we spent so much time together. And so, you know, we would play pranks on each other. Chris would make everybody CDs with music. Tom did too. I remember Chris liked John Mayer. I can't remember what he put on the first one. And then Tom liked Sigur Rós, I think that's how you say it. So that's their personalities. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Who was the biggest prank? Did you do any pranks? What'd you pull on them?
No, I actually got used a lot in pranks. They're like, Jaimie, go over there and do this. And I would be like, why? They're like, just do it. And then I would be like, okay. And then something would happen, and I was like, oh God. I can't quite remember all of them. It was just, you know, we would just mess with each other all the time, or like put each other's capes on or helmets or whatever, and like mess around. And, yeah. It was not a dull time. That's for sure.
A family for sure. A question we have from the audience is, well, what was the hardest stunt you have ever performed?
Like in general on all my films?
Yeah, actually, in general, we could do that, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you guys have seen Blindspot, but...
We got Blindspot fans here? Yeah!
So, I'd say like the hardest ones were always like basically like the Wing Chun, like the hand-to-hand combat, because I would just do so many moves so fast, and they would, there would be small variations. So I would throw the wrong punch sometimes, and then it would get thrown at me the wrong time, and you know, I broke my nose and a bunch of other stuff. But the scariest one I ever did was, I have two, and they kind of match in how afraid I was. One was the first Thor where we take off in the air like Superman. I was like, of course, they're like, we're gonna do you right after lunch. And I was like, no, like, I'm gonna throw up all over everybody. And, but we did it, and you would shoot up in the air at this wire, and then you would free fall till it just caught you, and you'd sort of bounce in the air. And they were like, Jaimie, you gotta look like, you know, this is no big deal. And I was like freaking out. And they're like, you can't look scared. And I was like, then don't shoot me that fast up in the air. But that one was scary. And then hanging outside of a chopper, being chased by another chopper in season 2 of Blindspot. I had to really go to another place. But it was really fun. But like right away, they were like, just don't drop your gun. Don't let anything go, like fly off of you. And so they bolted everything into my costume. But I was like genuinely a little nervous. So those two, I think, yeah.
So you love doing your own stunts as much as you can?
Yes.
Have they stopped you from doing them? They said this is too dangerous?
I'd say anything involving fire, obviously, although I have been lit on fire accidentally twice. But anything like falling downstairs, those types of things, I have an incredible double, Heidi, who does, I mean, basically does the stunt, then I do the stunt, but she does most of it, like when it comes to those big falls and things like that. She's incredible. But yes, I will volunteer myself often, and now I realize with metal in this leg now and a few other things, I'm like, maybe I should cool for just a little while. But yeah, I do enjoy it a lot.
You love the thrill.
I do. I do love the thrill.
You like extreme sports or anything like that growing up?
Maybe.
It seems like it.
Yeah, I was always like the roller coasters and all that stuff, so yeah.
Well, before we jump back into the MCU, because obviously everyone loves that, you did mention Blindspot. Well, let's hear it for our Blindspot fans out there. What drew you to the role of Jane Joe? How did this project land in your lap and was fantastic?
Yeah, a funny story is, I had done this show called Kyle XY when I was in my early 20s, and we filmed it in Vancouver, in Canada. And I had read a lot of scripts. The year was, I think, 2015, and I was reading a bunch of scripts, and this one came across, and I thought, like, oh, this sounds like a lot of fun, you know, I think I could do this. I'd like a lot of, you know, like my skill set that I have really, like, caters to this part. And so I took the meeting, I went in and met the show creator, Martin Garrow, and we got along really great. And at the end, he was like, I'm just, you know, so thrilled to give this part to a Canadian. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh no, because he's from Canada and he thought I was Canadian. And I was like, no, I'm from Texas. I was like, is that okay? And he goes, oh really? And I was like, does this change anything? Because he had written it with me in mind, apparently. And he was like, no. I was like, we could hire other Canadians, you know. And so anyways, that was like kind of a funny thing that happened, because the whole time he just thought I was a Canadian actress. I was like, I can be, I'm sorry. But yeah, so.
Texans do it best though. That's what you showed them, right? Texans do it best. Oscar wants to know, you know, before landing Blindspot, what type of fighting classes did you take or training did you do for that?
Oh man, they had me trained with a SEAL Team 6 guy that was a search and rescue guy named Ken. That guy. So I wasn't a very good swimmer before Ken until he shoved me into the deep end of a pool. And I swam to the top. He goes, there you go. And I was like, I'm going to murder you in your sleep. And then there was another guy, Carson, DEA agent, and we did a lot of like weapons training, of course. Basically the hand-to-hand combat stuff, I trained with a guy named Aaron Armstrong, who's like basically a kung fu master, if you will. And I just kept training and training and training, but the crazy part was the Navy SEAL part. I was just like, oh God, how am I gonna make this believable? Because I was a little scrawny at the time too. I was like, how long do we have? And they're like, you're gonna shoot it in 2 weeks. I was like, oh God. But that kind of stuff, I would train a lot so that I could make sure that I came across believable, and I did all the protocol that I needed to do to be military, and I wasn't cavalier with it, you know. And so it was quite an extensive process.
So you're pretty much like your hands are registered as lethal weapons.
Yeah, that's right.
Love that. So no name on this one, but this fan says, I love Kyle XY, your character Jesse. What would Jesse be doing now, and would you come back as Jesse if Kyle XY came back?
Oh gosh, I feel like Jesse either turned into a very good person or she's in prison. I'm not really sure which. But
pretty drastic.
She probably had plastic surgery so she could have a belly button, I don't know. But for those of you who have never seen the show, you must be like, what? But I would love to. I mean, I'm friends with most of the cast still. Matt Dallas is a very close friend still, and he's the best. And we had talked about trying to do something, because the show was canceled back when they would just cancel shows and not finish it. And we were like, oh, wish we could do something to wrap it up, you know? So yeah, you never know. Maybe we can make it happen.
Let's hear it for the Kyle XY fans out there. Very promising, right? Heading back to the MCU, Lady Sif has evolved from the get-go. How do you think she's evolved most? film, looking back at all of her appearances?
Yeah, I mean, I will say Love and Thunder had a very different concept than what you guys ended up seeing, and I think if we had seen the original concept, you would have seen a major character arc with Lady Sif specifically. But from what has aired, I guess, I would say, you know, she's still very loyal. She's still very, you know, Thor is her #1 for sure. Asgard is actually #1 for her. And she's still, you know, I think she's maintained loyalty across all the films and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think she's just still a very fierce warrior, and hopefully we will be seeing a lot more of her in the future.
That's exciting. I want to see more of Lady Sif, right? This question comes from Kalia. Where's Kalia at? Right there. She says, would you ever consider a Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 spin-off if the opportunity presented itself?
Yes, actually, so this is something my team and I have explored a little bit, was trying to pitch like a Disney Plus series or something where it's Lady Sif and maybe Beta Ray Bill. And so we were thinking like that would be really, really cool. I would definitely be up for that. And I think there's a lot we could explore there. As far as I know, you know, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it would really be up to a lot of fans getting out there and saying, like, this is what we want to see. But I am game. I mean, I'm pretty indestructible, I guess.
We have to tell this to Kevin Feige. I've only met him once, and so I forgot to even mention any nuggets. So like next time I see Kevin Feige, I run to him. I'm going to say this is what we need, because he's really the decision maker, but a great decision maker, and puts a lot of things. How's it like to work with Kevin Feige?
He's great. I've always liked Kevin. I think he's a super nice guy, and he really loves what he does, and he's, you know, really loves Marvel and has created this awesome cinematic universe for a lot of us to play in, you know. But yeah, I like that guy a lot.
Well, he built that playground. That's amazing.
He did.
It's a fun playground. Another question. Where's Bill from Houston? There's Bill. I'm from Houston too. Any Houstonians in here? Other ones? A couple of us made the trip. Just a couple of us. His question is, what MCU character or Avenger would you like Lady Sif to team up with other than obviously Thor?
I really like Iron Man. I do. I think like the flirtation there would be funny, because Sif would just probably punch him in the face at some point and be like, shoe fly. But yeah, he's also a great actor. He's a super nice guy. So.
I kind of want to see Lady Sif and Deadpool. I think they would just kill each other immediately.
Yeah.
They can't stand each other for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think that would actually be hilarious.
I want to know, you know, Sif's costume has changed over the years. Do you have a favorite version?
Oh gosh. I loved The Dark World. I think that was probably my favorite one, mainly because it was the easiest one to fight in. The first film was tricky physically, and then this last one, of course, was pretty easy because I was just kind of in a wheelchair. Well, I don't think that scene got cut. Never mind. I was sorry. Actually, why don't I tell you what that scene was?
Yes,
because
please.
no one knows.
Yes, please.
So basically, they're in this hall area, the common hall. I actually I can't remember what they called it, but she wheels in with one arm, and you know, if you ever try to do that with a wheelchair, it's comical because it's impossible. And so she's a little drugged up because she's been taken to, you know, get some healing, and she's missing an arm. And she's just, blood is everywhere. And she tells Valkyrie, you know, Valkyrie says, how did you get out of there? And I was like, you know, your guards are crap, you know. She's like, they're doctors, you know, but like, and I just, you know, like, I kind of like put her down in a way because I'm like, that was easy. But I literally am like bleeding out everywhere, and she's kind of upset that I'm making a mess. And so Thor hangs a bucket on Sif's shoulder to like catch the blood because he's trying to help, and I knock over everything on the table because I'm just, the wheelchair, I can't get it, and it's like this 5-minute scene of me trying to wheel from one side to the other, and then I have to tell them who the God Butcher is, and I say, you know, he did this to me, and then at some point I just pass out, and then they talk about getting like, you know, going after the God Butcher, and they're like, something about like, who's gonna do it? And then I wake up and I have my sword and I'm like, I'll do it. And they're like, calm down, you know? And then I'm like, oh my God, there's 2 Thors. You know, like she just notices that like Natalie is there, and she thinks she's like hallucinating. It's a really funny scene. I was bummed it got cut, but I think what I was saying in it didn't make sense in the final cut. It was an incorrect explanation. So, but it was really funny.
I love that. Look at that inside information right here from Lady Sif herself. Speaking of Natalie Portman, how have you noticed her grow throughout the films too? She's an amazing actress.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure, did you also like learn anything from her? Because she started at such a young age doing that.
She did, yeah. She's extremely nice. She's very, very sweet, really easygoing. I mean, she's so tiny. I guess a lot of people would be compared to me, but she's just this ball of light. She's so sweet. Like, I remember when I got to Australia and I walked in, she goes, "Oh shit, the OG." I go, "Oh yeah, I guess we are kind of, you know." But she's such a lovely woman, and I love I mean, I don't think there's a role that she's ever played that I disliked. I think she's so incredible. And she's done a great job in the Thor franchise, bringing that character to life, and with like a slice of humor also, you know? She's great.
What I love about the Thor films, I think there's a lot of strong women in the franchise. Films that we don't see in other superhero films. I mean, we get introduced to so many in Thor. What does that mean to you to be part of that, you know, core of strong women in the MCU?
Yeah, I was so excited to play this character. I remember the first outfit they had tried, Sif didn't have pants. I was like, hold on. I was like, I mean, they had me get pretty ripped, but I was like, I don't want to fight in a skirt without pants. And then they were like, actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to cover you up because that's like basically the least important thing about you. And I was like, fair enough. And that decision was also brought upon by Kenneth Branagh, who wanted lots of different shapes and sizes of everybody, which I loved him for. And at one point, you know, I was doing like 8 hours of stunts on top of like lifting weights. I was eating like 4,000 calories a day. I've never gotten. My arms were way too big. It was crazy. And I remember him saying at one point my costume started getting really loose because I just could not eat enough to not lose weight. And he said, I need to slow it down because we don't want you losing weight. And I was like, I'm not trying to. I was like, I gotta stop running in like these crazy costumes. But I loved him for that because he wanted to really put out like real women with extraordinary abilities, because we have extraordinary abilities, right? So I love that's showcased, you know, it's not so much what the woman looks like, it's who she is and what she does, her actions. And that's something I think they've been able to maintain in the Marvel Universe.
That's what I love about those Thor films, introducing all the strong women. I got another question we have here. There's no name, I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit, it's not would you. Are you ready to return as Lady Sif whenever the Secret Wars happens? Because they're gonna need everybody in their arsenal to bring out for Secret Wars. So are you ready to just return for that? It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to where I can bench 100 pounds now, so I was like, I think I can fight. It's been a while, but yeah, I would absolutely. I mean, this character is probably one of the most favorite characters I've ever played, and it just means so much to me because, again, I felt like we were all kids when we started, and it's been such a big part of our lives, and I will play her till I can't anymore. Yeah.
You like that? I want you want to see her forever and forever. Speaking of other roles outside of, you know, the genre of superheroes, what was your other favorite roles that you've done in your career? You've done a lot of other stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, I loved playing Jane Doe. I really did. It was a lot of fun, but I have to say the most fun I've ever had on a film, aside from the first Thor, was this movie I did called The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you can't not have fun if Johnny Knoxville is in the cast. It's just like, just watching him walk in a straight line is hilarious. But we had such a fun time because we were in this small town outside of Albuquerque. I think it was Belen, New Mexico. And we were all kind of just there, so we all hung out and, you know, like made snowmen. It was hilarious. Arnold cracked his head open on that one. He did a stunt and like at some point like the camera hit him in the face and he went to the hospital, and I remember being told, oh, he went to the hospital, we're gonna film part of your scene right now until he gets back. And I was like, why would he come back? Like, just take the rest of the day off, dude. And then he said, no, he'll be back. There's no way I could have said that without, yeah. But he came back to set and he had these blue stitches so they could CGI it out. And I was like, how are you here? And he said, try making the hospital and being the Terminator and not being able to cry. It was like, it hurt, you know? I was like, But yeah, that was the most fun I think I've had on a film. It was just like a really good time, and yeah, it was great.
No pranking from Johnny Knoxville, huh?
No, he knew better. I would have killed him. So, yeah.
That is awesome. This is from Miranda. What's the coolest thing a fan has given you?
Oh gosh, I've gotten some really cool things. Like just today, I was given a really sweet letter that I've made it halfway through. I haven't had enough time to read the whole letter, which I really appreciate. And one guy, one time, made me a Thor hammer, and it was like almost like better than what we had in the movie. I was like, what? How did you make this? And it had the earth to like sheath it, so it's like when it goes into the earth, and you know, and I still have it, and I like display it in my office, and like it is the coolest thing ever. And I was just like, I need to get a Sif sword now. But I mean, come on, the hammer's awesome. But that was like probably one of the cooler things I've gotten. I was like, what? A lot of time and effort went into that, and I still have it like 15 years later.
That was awesome. As you wore these cons, I'm sure you're going to be needing to bring extra luggage to bring things back home.
Yes.
People love gifting you with things. That's really awesome. Another question we have here is, what is a dream role you hope to play someday?
Ooh, okay.
Maybe a genre as well that you haven't done?
I do. So I am in the middle of developing a series. I wish I could say what it is. I'm told not to say. Let's just say you. Oh man, how do I say this? It's about death, but it's This character is very typical, usually in men. What she does. Let's just say she's a sociopath. But I won't go into too much detail. But it's going to be a really, really, really dark series. For streaming, and so I've got that going, and this is a role that I've been wanting to play for a long time. And her personality's changed, so she has multiple personality disorder, which is exciting because I'll get to play like, I guess, 7 different variations of the same person. So something like that's cool, but I am a diehard action fan. I always will be. I love doing it. I love watching action films. I think there should be a female Rambo, like my concept is Rambo has a daughter he didn't know about. They met later in life. She's probably like, works, you know, in some branch of the military, but not out in the field, and then shit hits the fan and she has to go out in the field, and they realize she's, you know, Rambo's daughter. I don't know. I would watch it. I'd be in it. I would do it. But that and a female RoboCop would be cool.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So you definitely, you love 80s action stars.
Oh my God.
What was the stuff you grew up with then?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, oh my God, well, I mean, all the Rambo, Rocky, I mean, and if we go back, like Conan the Barbarian, I love all that stuff. Sigourney Weaver is like my favorite alien. Come on. She like, I literally shaved my head in 2019 because she did. Like, she's just the coolest, and I remember Schwarzenegger saying at some point, he like compared me to her, and I was like, bless you. Like, I was just so excited because she's just the coolest. So yeah, all that stuff.
That was awesome. Who are some of your heroes and role models growing up?
Heroes and role models. You know, my older brother was definitely a role model for me. To the point where I would actually steal his t-shirts and wear them to school, like his Metallica t-shirts and stuff, which he wasn't happy about, but that's fine. But he was definitely a role model of mine. I always loved Juliette Binoche, that actress I thought was very graceful, but very down to earth. And she is the same in person, which is really cool. And who else? Like, I mean, I think I had so many as I, you know, was growing up, and it would change, you know. I loved the animated X-Men. I loved Jubilee. She was my favorite. And yeah, I would just take whatever I could from wherever and just sort of daydream that. You know, I was a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well.
Why don't you bring that back, maybe?
Yeah, I could be her mother now. I don't know.
But I love you mentioned the X-Men animated series. Have you watched the new one on Disney Plus? The continuation?
No, everybody, and I haven't yet, and I've been meaning to, and you're like the 4th person to tell me that, and so.
If you like Jubilee, like,
I know, I
take on her center stage almost, and really great, great season, a great soundtrack, especially from Ace of Base.
Oh, I love, that tracks, that tracks. I also would love to see more of X-23.
Oh yeah.
And, like a lot of stuff, like her as she grows up more, you know, like. She's always been a cool character.
It could happen. We don't know what's going on with Deadpool and Wolverine.
I mean, seriously, you could literally be in those films and not know what's going on. You're like, they don't really like to tell you too much.
That's very true. But you returned for Loki and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
How was that like to just bring your character, Lady Sif, into those projects?
Yeah, well, I remember, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I remember being at some event and Clark Gregg, who plays Agent Coulson, was there, who's a dear friend, and he said, hey, would you want to come on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And I didn't realize he meant as Sif. I thought he meant like another character, and I was like, that'd be kind of weird. I guess I could if like we changed my hair. And he's like, no, as Sif, like, you know. I was like, whatever. And so I said, well, yeah. And he goes, good, because they're going to call your agents this week and ask if you could come on, so say yes. And I was like, yeah, okay, for sure. And that was really, really fun. I wish I could have had more time to do more on those shows, but I didn't, unfortunately. And then. Loki, I mean, who wouldn't want to hit him in the nuts? Like, I mean, they didn't tell me what I was supposed to do until a week before. And they were like, so we have your costume from the first movie. And I was like, you think I can fit in that thing still? I was like, you nuts, I was 24. And they're like, well, you're gonna have to. I was like, oh, okay. And so I got down there and they're like, so this is a scene where Loki has cut Sif's hair and you're really unhappy, and we're going to do this scene several times. And I said, okay, and they're like, so you're going to knee him in the nuts and punch him in the face. And for some reason, everybody was so excited about this. And I was like, Tom.
Including Tom.
Yeah, well, I hit him once accidentally because he somehow like stepped a little closer than I thought, and I was really, like the costume was really tight because I'm older. And I couldn't reach him, and I just threw it as hard as I could, and I hit him in the face. And I was like, and I know with Tom, if that happens, you just keep going unless he's bleeding, right? Well, actually, if he's bleeding, he would tell you to keep going. So he fell on the ground, and like he was supposed to. And we did the whole thing, and after I was like, I'm so sorry. He goes, no, I bet it looked great. And I was like, you are nuts. I was like, I'm so sorry. And, but he's a great sport, and we had a good time, and it was like a really fun little reunion because we hadn't seen each other in a while. But I will say, at one point, my costume just popped right off my arm, like my bicep just like, it was like, and I was like, well, how are we gonna fix that? And they like taped it back on. They're like, we'll fix it in post. I was like, okay. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And how many takes was that?
We did way too many, I'll tell you that. We're like, now you're gonna say this, but you're gonna kick him, and now you're gonna kick him when he's on the ground, and then you're gonna say, and it was just like all this horrible stuff. And then Owen Wilson walks in. I think they cut some of the scene because Sophie was in it as well at some point. But I did so many iterations of it that I'm not really sure exactly what ended up. So I don't watch anything I've done, just so you know. So sometimes I don't really know what the finished product is. So a lot of times when I get asked about a film that's going to come out, I kind of have to bullshit my way through it because I'm like, I don't know what's in there still. But with that, like I just thought at least 5 takes I think will be in there, but I don't know what variations were in there. But I heard it was. I just beat the crap out of it. So I was like, yeah, that I remember. It was pretty fun.
Bonus features on the
bonus features, yes. Yes, we had a good time though. He's a great sport.
I love that. Tom is really a great person. He's a great human being.
Yeah.
But poor him, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think part of him liked it. I don't know. We've known each other for a long time, but yeah, he's an incredible actor. He's a really nice guy.
No, that's for sure. We're slowly running out of time, but I do want to get through some of these questions we have here. Teresa from Dallas. There she is right there. I like this question actually. She says you have worn some amazing gowns to award shows. Are you really into the fashion thing, and did you have a favorite gown?
Oh man. I am into fashion, but clearly like, you know, chill fashion. I actually spilled coffee on my original shirt this morning, so I'm in a black tank top, but whatever. But I do. It's fun. I like to get dressed up and do the whole red carpet thing. It's almost like I'm somebody else when I do that because it's just not my, it's like, I don't know how I can do it because it's hard for me to, I would be just devastated if I was wearing a dress right now. I'd be so nervous. But for some reason in that setting, maybe because everybody else is dressed up, I go with it. My favorite, I have 2 favorites. One was the American premiere of Thor, the first one. It was like this cool cuff, and it was like this shiny dress, and it just felt very like, almost like, well, kind of superhero-y, Wonder Woman-y to me, and I loved it. And the other one was this crazy black dress that I had no idea would be such a big friggin' deal, that had this cutout in it, and I wore it to Thor the Dark World. And we had photographed it, and it didn't look that see-through, but then I went on the red carpet, and I was like, oh my Jesus. And it just like kind of took off, and a lot of people liked it, but it was really fun because it was like a onesie. It was literally the most comfortable dress I've ever worn, and that's what I do. I like comfort. I don't, you know, like in Thor, I have to wear like 2 corsets, one is metal. So I was like, you know what, to the premiere, I'm gonna be loose and chill, because I'm not not wearing anything too tight. But I'd say those two are my favorite.
I love that. So Kevin Feige has this line of hats, if you didn't know that he has. Could be a Lady Sif line of clothing.
Exactly.
That's what we need, right?
Yeah. With hidden weapons.
I love that. Everyone outfit comes with a knife.
Yes.
There we go.
some kind of dagger. Yeah.
This question's from Kevin. It's Kevin M here somewhere. I'm gonna rephrase this question a little bit. If you could leap into the DC universe that's being born right now, what character would you like to play? And actually, he says excluding Wonder Woman. Who would you like? Well, if that's the case, then
well, I mean, I don't know what other character I'd fit. Probably, I mean, Rachel's awesome. So I'd say Lois Lane because she's kind of a dork, and I am.
Yeah, you would be a great Lois Lane.
A dork, but I kind of float between Lois Lane and Wonder Woman. I'm like, whatever the middle of that would be is probably more suitable for me. But another character, I mean, I don't know, I like Superman, but he's a man. I don't know. I mean, anything that flies. How about
Or the Batman world, you know, there's so
okay, I gotta get, like, I know we're running out of time, but Batman is my favorite. I've been so obsessed with Batman my entire life. I met Michael Keaton once and made a complete idiot out of myself. Because to me, he's Batman. Like, I mean, I grew up with him as Batman. I mean, other than, you know, I watched Adam West, of course, but yeah, and then, of course, I met Christian Bale on Love and Thunder, and he was bummed that we didn't get to beat the shit out of each other. I was like, me too, bro, I know. We had this crazy fight scene to open the film and it got cut, but he's fantastic too, and I mean, there's just, yeah, Batman, he's so hot.
Do you want to be Catwoman? Because they want to do the Batman Brave and Bold, it's an older
I could be Catwoman, I guess.
Or any of the villains? Do you like any of the other villains in the Batman world?
Oh god.
There's a lot of them though, right? There's too many to choose from.
There are way too many to choose from, but yeah, I love a good villain. I haven't really played a villain too much. I was hoping for Lady Loki, but it didn't work out that way. Yeah.
Well, there's room for you in the DC. Everyone is sharing everybody.
It seems like it now. Back in the day, that was like, oh no, you cannot be in DC if you're in Marvel.
We have one last question, and I can't really make out the name. Is it Hirsch from Houston. We want to end, I guess, on this note. It's a pretty good one. I like this one. Can we please get the best for Asgard in Lady Sif's voice to wrap up this panel?
Okay. Oh God, I have to be British. Hold on. This has been a minute. For Asgard.
Yeah, there we go. She did it for us. She did it for San Antonio, Texas. Let's hear it for our Lady Sif, Jaimie Alexander. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you coming out.